Give me a second to get things straight. All. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. All right. There we go. Okay. All right, guys. So, I'm one of those people who is pretty much convinced at this point that when people look back at history and wonder how America and how civilization, our society as a whole, worldwide, how it came to an end will be due to social media. Excuse me while I pull some things up to go over with you guys. This should be a fun one, but this is also an update. I should have included that in the title. I'm going to try and do the next video or two from the laptop, so you won't get a vertical notification, but you're going to want to see these pictures that I am pulling up about a lot of different things, and we're going to look more at salt mines. I think sometimes for people that are on YouTube or on TikTok, they're not exposed to information. Information in our time is hoarded, and that's why I said I feel like social media and media as a whole is going to be the downfall of our current societal system. So I'm doing my part to kind of try and counteract that and bring information that maybe is hidden from you, or information that you just aren't seeing because we live small lives. We have our families, they keep us very busy. And I think they try to capitalize, profit, and even exploit sometimes our ignorance. And I say our because I'm involved, and I say ignorance meaning our lack of knowledge, the fact that we aren't well traveled, we don't know certain things. For example, like one of the fallen angel statues I'm going to talk about today. There are a lot of people that's been floating around on YouTube for years now, and I'm sure it's on TikTok as well, about this fallen angel, and it was found in Siberia and all this stuff. It's a piece of art. It's a statue that a couple of people allegedly created. Now, getting into this video, you're going to want to put your thinking caps on, but also your media literacy caps, because don't accept, believe, or receive this information as truth. Do your own legwork, do your own research. But we are going to, this is going to be kind of, there are going to be a couple of part ones that are vertical like this, just to draw people in. But if you want to see the actual images and watch us go over them together live, that will be in another video, because there's a lot to see. But I'm going to read to you some information as well that goes along with this, because this gets really weird. I started in a whole different place. I was looking at Disney and animatronics. Now, I probably was using the wrong words, because I was also looking at Freedom of Information Act papers regarding robotics. And again, I think those of us that they can fool, that they will. And it's important that we understand, technologically speaking, what we are capable of as a species and as a society at this point. Because if you don't know that, if you don't have some type of baseline, they're going to be able to fool you with these compilation videos from TikTok that have no context, aren't telling you where they're pulling the information from. And so, let's try and sift through what's true and what's not. Today we're going to go over an area that I'm not in, I've never been to. So again, we're going to put our thinking caps on and our learning caps on today, but also our media literacy caps. We're going to ask questions. So the first place I'm going to take you, I started in this strange Disney rabbit hole, which I'm not, that is a place I keep going to because I feel like, I don't know how to say this outright without like scaring people away from the channel, but I feel like we're being really fooled with these animatronics and droids. I mean, we've caught them using them, or at least faking us out that they're using them in wrestling. And I did a video on that as well. Hi, it's nice to see you here. Yes, we do need to be very discerning. Absolutely, absolutely. So without further ado, I'm going to pull something up. I started in animatronics, and I'm not done there. Like, we're going to go back there. But let's ease into it, and let's also talk about something we've talked about before, and that is statues as kind of creepy, kind of occult-like, kind of inspired by the occult, and ginormous statues that are kind of popping up all over the place. Now, Again, media literacy. Here in America, on our news, they're telling us, or were telling us, that they were taking down Confederate heroes and that it was a race thing, and they wanted to get rid of our racist history, or at least not honor those people, right? That's what they're telling us in the media. But if you dig a little bit more into this, it gets very bizarre with things like megaliths popping up all over the place, especially in the desert since 2015 at least. And now you have these strange statues, and a lot of these statues are related to the sea, to the marine kingdom. We seem a little obsessed with that. Evolution actually tells us, for those who believe that, but evolution says, again, I don't completely buy into it, but it says that in the very, very beginning, we came from the water. And I think the movie Prometheus even shows that, of him giving his own life into the water, and his life, he was the god of life here, you know? So, um, statues as a whole, as this lifelike thing, is a little occultic. Now, what we're going to look at first. This is the first thing I found on this. Now, there were these statues that started popping up in Dallas in 2019, I think. And then another one showed up in like 2021, and then they removed at least one of them. So far, there's only two. But here's where I want to show you, and I don't want to say show off a little. This is kind of my area, though. When you dig into a story, the names of the people who are telling the story, and, well, let me just show you how this unfolds. It gets very bizarre. Everything starts to become very synchronistic. The name Solomon pops up again and again. He's supposedly the artist of these, though he hasn't officially taken credit for making them. So I'm going to read you a brief summary, and then we'll get into what's highly strange. Well, the whole thing's highly strange. Okay. So yes, they did remove both. So this one is the first one, I believe. And this one says, and I'll read it to you so you can understand what we're going over here. A mysterious statue recently placed near the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center suggests Brian was more than human, calls Dallas a quote-unquote shared delusion. Why is this important? Well, first of all, augmented reality has been a huge topic coming up again and again since at least 2016. There are art installations all over now with augmented reality, and then you kind of get into the story of Alice in Wonderland and how many times that story repeats in our own realm. So this starts to talk about the founders of Dallas, and the real founders, all right? So we get into a little bit of lore here. The problem with this is, this is the problem with history too, is that you can't tell what's true and what is somebody just LARPing or making a story. And that's where I tell you to be media literate. Now, the interesting thing about this as well is we also talked about, I don't want to say that it's London. I think it might have been Australia, where they had this giant, I forget exactly what it's called, but a humanoid coming out of the sea. He's right in the bay, and he's holding like what looks like half of a skull, and he's got seaweed coming off of him. Now, we talked about that one, and we talked about his similarities, with Prometheus. So this is a statue that was near the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center. That also, again, these statues that just pop up have plaques with them, and they start to have a story. Why am I going over this? Because number one, a lot of strange things have been happening since 2016. Number two, me, myself, and I personally think this is disclosure of a kind, and it's coming at us as usual in a different way and methodology than we first anticipated. So I believe that there is disclosure happening, and I think that's why you have to get above the whole paradigm, get out of your own firm beliefs for a minute, and just look above, like life as a game board. Almost try to see it like God would see it and see everything, because we do have a lot of shared delusions here. So it says, this was actually removed. They updated the article, but I'm going to read the link and I will include them all. Now, this is basically a statue with what is called a squid-like head. It says, John Neely Bryan, the man credited with founding Dallas in 1841, lived a fascinating life. But is it possible that he was also a cephalopod? Now, a cephalopod is a kind of squid-like creature. And we're reading this from Central Track. I think it's a local publication down there in Dallas, and it tells you like the local nightlife and art and culture. So it keeps you up to abreast on all these things. So this is so funny. Is it possible that he was a cephalopod? Now, again, we're talking about this. We understand that it's a wild story, but we want to see where it goes. And again, there's a reason for this, because they're trying to rewrite history now as we stand, as we are here. Is it a huge statue? These ones in Dallas, if you compare them to the giant one I was just talking about, no, they're not that big. We'll get into that though. Hold on. A mysterious new statue that recently appeared in the bowels of the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center suggests just that the founder was a cephalopod. And again, what I'm starting to get, the vibe I'm getting is an Atlantis vibe. And I know there's all these rumors about Atlantis. And I don't want to say too much because this theory is just being born in my mind. But it's bringing me Atlantis vibes. And you'll see why. Maybe you'll get that vibe too. So it says it's located just a few city blocks away from downtown Dallas's replica of the founder's pioneering cabin. This new piece has been installed near one of the DART stops underneath the convention center on the east side of Send. Oh, it was frozen. I'm so sorry. So when we actually go through this, it will not be, is it working now? Okay. It will not be vertical. When we do the second part of this, we will look at where these statues were installed, because I do think that's important. So this one is kind of weird looking, and I find that his hands look like they're attached. He's dressed like a human, but his hands are like hanging out of his coat, and there's like nothing. They look like you would see like a robot hands, like a squid pretending to be a human. So is he actually a humanoid? Because his hands on the statue look like they're trying to get the point across that they're not real hands either. And again, when we go through the images, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And I will share some of these and use them as a thumbnail, and I will share them on the community page as well. But there will be a second part to this where we actually go through the pictures. But today, the story and the lore is what's important. We're going to follow that trail. So sorry for talking, but I want to make sure the screen didn't glitch again. So it says, after first spotting the piece on his way to work last Friday, Dallas attorney John Bradley shared photos of the statue and his typo-ridden plaque to Twitter this morning. Now, here's the thing. The plaques that are underneath of these statues, they have typos like crazy. And I noticed so far in the ones that I read, the letters that are missing are just I and L. Il or L, which is also Latin. Il means and others. That's also, isn't that a Greek way to write, if I'm not mistaken? And they also found strange etchings on these statues that look like a language or a phone number. So we'll get to that as well. What's also suspect about this, and again, people will think that this is just a fun video, it's just meant to be whatever, which it is. It's a lighthearted video. Some of these people canceled their Twitter accounts since this all happened. Some of these people and some of these stories, when you click on these links and stuff, you get nowhere. So it is being hushed up. The question is why. So I'm not going to interrupt anymore. I'm going to read. It says, this Dallas attorney, John Bradley, he shared photos of this statue on his Twitter account when he saw them on his way to work. Update, that Twitter account no longer active for John Bradley. It's gone. Completely gone. Can't find him. He initially assumed the piece was installed as some sort of marketing play for an event taking place at the convention center, which they do. The ice cream trucks, in case you haven't figured it out, that was publication for the movie Weapons. It was also a little play on words, double entendre, ice cream truck, ice. That's people's way of letting, but they're not going to tell you that. Anyways, moving on. So this guy's, you can't access his information anymore at all. He thought that they were an art piece, but they weren't. It's unsanctioned street art. Well, it's certainly something. According to the plaque, there's a plaque. The piece is called Solomon, Self-Portrait of John Neely Bryan, hypothetical, 1877. And it is made of, quote, steel and beaks, end quote. An assertion Bradley denies, saying it appears to not be carved, but maybe a model with a real jacket painted to look like a statue. We're going to get into a really bizarre thing about that too, and that's why I'm doing this video first, because it's lighthearted. There are some missing people turning up. There's some mannequins that are very realistic and lifelike that are turning up that resemble missing people. Remember, we talked about this being the time of inversion. Everything is inverted, backwards, upside down, inside out since about 2015. Well, if everything is backwards, they're not actually getting illegal immigrants. They're getting people who were probably here from the beginning, or people who know the truth about the land and themselves. Because America has been here since the beginning. It is in the Bible. Anyways, moving on. They like to tell you that it's the New World, but it's basically a ginormous Disneyland. And that's why I've been looking at Disneyland, because it's almost like America itself was modeled off of Disneyland, or Disneyland was modeled off of America at a smaller scale. And now we've got these lifelike droids and statues showing up all over the place, and politicians acting like children. I swear it's like there are children running things now, because even when I was digging into this story, the person that applied for FOIA papers about a robotics contest that NASA was having, and he worked for NASA, he was a media for NASA, they wouldn't release these papers that he was requesting. So things have been out of whack for a while here in America. And if things are the opposite, what if these statues are popping up? They look lifelike for a reason. You can coat anything with a clear coat of resin or colored resin. Now this statue, the jacket does look like it's hanging, like it looks like somebody just shellacked with silver, because it looks like it's silver. It's like, looks like somebody just shellacked this jacket. Now I'm going to read you what's actually on the plaque itself, but give me a second. It says, most surprising are the details implied in the anonymous artist statement portion of the inscription of the plaque. Now, here's what the artist says about the founder of Dallas. It says, confined in his last days to an insane asylum in Austin, no one knows what final, the I is missing, there is no I, confusions the founding father of Dallas confronted, that's a tongue twister, before his death. Did the lines between selfhood and otherhood blur completely? Did flesh, and the L is missing, it says fesh, confate, which should be conflate, so the L is missing again, it's always an L or an I, with metal, the eternal with the temporal, the mammal with the cephalopod? Is the city he began a city in fact, or a shared delusion? And again, I've told you about this too, about how some of our cities are like sets. I think the population is much less than they tell us it is. Because I also found something when I was digging around in the FOIA papers for another serious video, all on its own. It's an old magazine, and it says that it was allowed to be released in 2010. Well, why are they holding back old publications that I can go to a library and get? Well, apparently I can't. But anyway, in this I think might have been an issue of Time. It was declaring how if the birth rate kept declining, that by 2009 there would be no more couples there would be no more man-woman couples by 2009. We're well past that number at this point. And I know they like to exacerbate certain things. But most of us have established the fact that the population is not what they say it was. Because a lot of areas that you go into when you're just traveling, especially when you're traveling spur of the moment and spontaneously, and nobody knows you're going here, there, or everywhere, there's a lot of rather sparsely populated towns along the way throughout America. Okay, so the exact wording on this statue of the half cephalopod, half human, well, half squid, half human, calling it a cephalopod, it says Solomon, meaning the artist, I guess. It says self-portrait of John Neely Bryan, hypothetical, 1877, steel and beaks, whatever that means. And then it says, so that's what he's calling it. He's calling it the self-portrait of John Neely Bryan. And it's hypothetical. He's saying this is how he would do himself if it was him. So again, it's an artist immersing himself in the topic. But it says, confined in his last days to an insane asylum in Austin, no one knows what final confusions the founding father of Dallas confronted before his death. Did the lines between selfhood and otherhood blur completely? Did flesh conflate with metal, the eternal with the temporal, the mammal with the cephalopod? Is the city he began a city in fact or only a shared delusion? This is a gift to the city of Dallas from Margaret McDermott. Now, if you look into this person, and this is where you have this footwork, this is called cross-referencing for anyone that doesn't know. I hope you know. But if you don't know, it's called cross-referencing. And what we want to do now is look up this person. It's saying this is from Margaret McDermott, which we know it's not, or she said it's not. But we're going to look her up. She's a philanthropist. Now this gets interesting. She's beautiful. She passed away in 2018, directly prior to these statues being installed, these two statues being installed in Dallas, okay? And again, I know this is a strange video. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me. There is a point for it, and there is a method to the madness. It is a strange headline. It is high strangeness, especially since 2016, when most of us can agree that things got kind of weird, especially the Malaysian flight going missing. That kind of set things off. So I'm going to read you something else that somebody wrote about this. This is the first thing I found. Now, remember Margaret McDermott. She is a philanthropist. The UT of Dallas most steadfast champion. Let's see. Can I just get a quick... Margaret Miller McDermott, UT, Dallas's most steadfast champion, helped transform the university through her visionary leadership and support. Margaret Miller McDermott, MMM, whose philanthropic gifts made historic impacts on the educational and arts institutions of her native city of Dallas, has died at the age of 106. And we're going to have to talk about royalty again, too. It's so crazy how all this stuff is connected. Because did you know that Disney, the land that it's on, they own it and they run it like they have their own government? And recently, DeSantis tried to go head-to-head with Disney and get rid of that status. And they pulled out this clause. It's called the Royal Clause. And it means as long as there is an heir, there is... and 21 years past his passing or something, any agreement can stand that long, which I think is balderdash. But it's one of those laws that seem like it helps certain people and not others. So what we're going to do is I want you to hear something real quick. Squid-headed statue appears in Dallas. It says someone left it in a cemetery. As usual, you can also use the squid post to talk about the security stories in the news that I haven't covered. Read my plug guidelines here. Now, it says, I'm going to click on this. There are glyphs used in the plaque that is in front of the statue. And this person says, too many secrets hidden in recent art along the United States. I would agree with that. Now, I'm going to click on cemetery. But again, like I said, I don't have a lot of hope because a lot of this stuff has been taken down. Okay, they do have this one up. This is about the second statue. But we're going to we got to finish reading about the first real quick. It won't take long. Okay, so we're going to go back. If I can find him. And we're going to read. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, heavens. Thank you for your patience. I want you guys to hear from this man because his life gets really strange. He gets delivered a strange package. But I think I might have to go through this thread first. Hang on. There. All right. I'll get rid of that because we already read that. And then they use luminaries. It's just never ending. Okay, so here I am going to... They're saying it looks more like an octopus than a squid. Now, below the sculpture, their article is another article about a certain Michael Yeager visiting the city. For anyone who has studied the Men in Black filmic opus, it should be clear that Michael left the work as a self-portrait of his real alien appearance. So that's a neat Easter egg to this too. Now, if you're not understanding what's happening, there's a thread here about this statue now that you can click on, and I'll include all the links. And this person says, there's an article, there's a link right below this one about a certain Michael Yeager visiting the city. For anyone who's studied the Men in Black filmic opus, it should be clear that Michael left the work as a self-portrait of his real alien appearance. So some of these people do actually believe these things occurred. Now I'm trying to find... There it is. I think. A new Israeli innovation beats the polygraph. See the stuff that they link together? That is so bizarre to me. Alright, so I might have lost it, which isn't cool, but I have several here. I just wanted to read his because he includes some really cool information. The glyphs in front of the statue. We'll talk about that too. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Why is he doing... Some people just take up space, I think. All right. This one is from... Hold, please. Dallas, making Dallas an even better place to be. Mysterious squid-headed statue appears at downtown cemetery. This is the second one, where a Confederate war memorial once stood. So they took down the war memorial. Now there's a bizarre piece making supernatural reference to early Dallas history. The date on this is from December 13th, 2021. What I don't like about okay, this one is a female. And this one has the sun rays, or what could be interpreted as the sun rays coming out from the head, like Mary has, like Isis has. I'm not going to argue over who did it first. Like, I'm not really into that whole debate. We know it's symbolic. We know that we borrow from our past to this reappropriation. There's nothing new under the sun. Everybody reappropriates. So this one says, I was fortunate enough to spend a few minutes on Monday afternoon soaking in the sunshine and beautiful weather at Pioneer Park Cemetery, where some of the city's founders and early luminaries are buried in the shadow of the Convention Center, CC 33. Until last summer, a Confederate War memorial also stood there. As of Monday morning, a statue that I'm going to tentatively describe as depicting a woman's figure with the head of a haloed squid had risen in place of the old Confederate soldiers. Now these are white. This one is white. It looks like plaster of Paris almost. It's not silver. It's not as lifelike as the other one, but it does again almost look like there's cloth draped, you know what I mean? Like they put plaster of Paris and they actually used like a dress. Now it says, when I walked up, the cemetery looked empty with the exception of a Dallas Morning News reporter who beat me to the scene. We were both following the lead of Pete Friedman, who had tweeted about the statue's apparent overnight appearance earlier in the day. Now, this is the one I read, and this guy, he ends up getting mailed a plaque himself. He got mailed a statue because they said that it was an award for him trying to kill the illusion that was Dallas. Now, they're saying that that the history of Dallas has been covered up, the real history, according to the lore of the statues. And I know it can be hard to follow, but again, people are going to the trouble of doing things like this for a reason. I've told you over and over and over, and you don't have to believe me, but it is true that everyone you see on the screen, from like Hollywood to our politicians, they are all proxies. And a lot of them, I don't even know if they're actual individuals like still breathing air at this point, or if they ever were. Because talking about robotics, I've noticed that certain people have handlers, and they don't just stand there. Trump had a handler at one of his rallies before he was actually elected. It was like right the night or two before. And he was coming out waving, and they showed him coming out like WWE. There was this guy beside him messing with something. And I'm telling you, if you watch, you can catch who the handlers are, and I don't know if they're droids. I don't know what they did to these people. I don't know. But I know something's wrong, and I noticed it within my own family, and that's what creeps me out is I thought it was just big people that we didn't know, never heard of, okay, we have proxies, that's cool. They don't want people knowing what they really look like. I can understand that, because they'd get death threats and all that stuff. So I get it, it's for security. But I don't think they're human. I legit don't. Now, fallen angels, yeah, something of that nature, because that story is repeated over and over and over again in every culture. There is some type of conflict with this outer force that isn't supposed to live on the earth with us in that way. Okay, so let's finish this. It said Pete Friedman tweeted about the statue. He's the founder of Central Track. He really owned the weird cephalid statue in Dallas beat over the last several years, and it's worth reading his full recounting of the strange saga that began in 2019. Now I'll get to that one too, because that is strange. Now, this new installation seems to be by the same artist identified on a nearby plaque as Just Solomon, okay? No last name, just listed as Solomon. So again, we have another biblical, historical, and Solomon was the wisest, and he controlled demons. He had power of a sort, but he had more than power. He had God's favor for a long time. So it says both works share a cephalopod, human hybrid style, as well as the same style plaque, each detailing a supernatural explication of early Dallas history. Now, I wonder if there was a World's Fair at Dallas, because again, all of these little bits and pieces are connected. And if we assume that the 1,000-year period, like the false history, if we assume that that theory could be correct, then the mud flood could very possibly be Noah's flood. Because we know now that they weren't as archaic as we thought. They didn't just beat around in the dust with sticks. That they had technology probably that we don't have access to today. And by technology, I don't just mean electronics or things that plug in. I mean technological advancements like the loom and things like that. So it says The first statue was described as a self-portrait, which we understood, and it says that the founder of Dallas actually was a cephalopod and that he was committed to an insane asylum. What's funny about that is, again, we know that that is true at this point, that they put a lot of people who knew probably the true history of the world, they put a lot of them into mental institutions. And I was reading the other day, somebody found, I don't know how they found them, you know, I was watching a video, and I did not check on this explicitly, but he did have the links, I believe. He found out some of the submissions, like you have to have a reason for admissions for putting somebody in an institution. And a lot of them were that the person thinks that history is something other than it is, and they think that everyone is lying to them, and that like you should read it, some of these reasonings that they have for committing these people to these asylums. And again, I think it's because they knew true history. If you look at Typhoid Mary, it was the same thing with her. She was a single woman making a living. She was around wealthy people. She probably heard things she shouldn't have heard. And she was a good, she was somebody good, handy to like blame things on, you know? So we're going to look at this. Now, this is where it gets funny too. The newest place is built as a portrait of Sarah Horton Cockrell. Now, who is she? Just like the other gal. Well, this is a little different. This actual statue is supposed to be of Sarah Horton Cockrell. She's an early Dallasite, I guess that's our way of saying elite, Dallasite, who was instrumental in the building of a suspension bridge across the Trinity River in the 1860s and 70s, per the Texas State Historical Association. So just like Margaret, we're going to look her up real quick, but hold on, I'm not done. Just like with the other statue was the actual founder of Dallas. And the plaque said that he was committed to an insane asylum. This statue is of Sarah Horton Cockrell, who is also instrumental in the founding of Dallas, and she's billed as a philanthropist, probably maybe because she was female. Now the other one, the first one, this is where it gets weird. It says it's a gift to the city of Dallas from Margaret McDermott, and if we look her up, she's a philanthropist too, one of the elites from Dallas. So what we're going to do next is we're going to look up some of these people to find out who they are and like what actual research says about them. But I'm going to read you this plaque on the second one because it's weird. Okay, so this says it's a portrait of Sarah Horton Cockrell, 2024. Damp, and it's made from damp urban silver, whatever that means. If Sarah Horton Cockrell did encounter Dallas's true namesake, and here we get the Freemason agenda or connection. It says, if Sarah Horton Cockrell did encounter Dallas's true namesake on her 33rd birthday, how did she walk away with her selfhood intact? Why her? Why that night at that crossing of that particular bend of the Trinity, which is the river? The facts paint little in the way of an answer. Afterwards, she declined to sleep, wandering the darkened city she largely owned, inventing new ways to profit from thresholds. She's the first capitalist, allegedly. Was her wealth then hers by fate or by compulsion? Maybe our city's love-hate relationship with tolls, toll roads meaning fees, was born that night, rippling out beyond the levees of her destiny. Her Trinity toll bridge, still calling in Sarah's debts on another plane, a taller, more enduring memorial than any our city's other daughters have built. If so, well, hail Sarah, daughter of unnameable monarchs, hand commanding the purse of eternity. Now, if you look at the bottom, underneath that, it says that it's a gift to the city of Dallas from T-Bone Pickens. So when you have art, right, you have a person who commissions a piece. That means they're paying for a piece to be done. Like, I want this to be done, but I want my name on it. Or I want this to be done as a gift. A lot of philanthropists will do that. They'll be like, here, I want this made. I'll pay for you to make it. I'll pay for your time and your expertise, and then I'll donate it to the city. So that's what's happening here, allegedly. So Solomon the artist, allegedly, created these alleged self-portraits. He imagined them for these people. The first person was a philanthropist. This person says T-Bone Pickens, which sounds like a really fake name. T-Boone Pickens, but it has 2 O's, but let's see if it's a real name. Because again, when you're doing this kind, and I know people are going to be like, why are you looking at this? There's a reason. They want us to look at these people. There's a reason they want us. Wow, he died in 2019 too. So if he actually had this commissioned, he died right after that. He died on September 11th, 2019. Wow. Let's look at his wiki page and see what we find. He looks familiar, and I can't say why. T-Bone Pickens. T-Boone Pickens Jr. It says he was born May 22nd, 522. There's that number. Oh, I didn't have my ring light on. I had it there, but it's not on. Hey, sorry if that's better. It says, Thomas Boone Pickens was an American business magnate and financier. He chaired the hedge fund BP Capital Management. He was a well-known takeover operator and corporate raider during the 80s. Okay, so he's a bad guy. So this is what this means. This guy, he would buy up businesses, right? And he would buy up businesses that were in trouble. And a lot of times, they would get together, the boards even, would get together and make sure a certain business had trouble. That way, they could come in and buy it and then sell it off piece by piece by piece and make way more than it's worth. That's what he did. He was a well-known takeover operator. Later in life, he was a prominent conservative activist and philanthropist. At the time of his death in 2019, holy cow, his net worth stood at $500 million after he had given away more than $1 billion to various philanthropic causes. Wow. He was born in Holdenville, Oklahoma, the son of Grace Marceline and Thomas Boone Sibley Pickens. Pickens was the first child born of cesarean section, which is interesting. He was in a fraternity. He was employed by Phillips Petroleum. Wow. Mesa is one of the largest independent oil companies. And I think, yeah. Okay, so we're going to save a little bit of that. We're going to set that aside. So now we see a story building. For some reason, the creator of these statues wants us to be aware of these people. They want us to look into these individuals. This is how I do my research. And I know sometimes it seems people are like, Jen, you're all over the place. This is madness. But if you look at the channel and the way it progresses, there's a reason we're being led in the direction that we're led. Because again, how do you make a population look bigger than it really is? Well, to people like me, you do it on the screen. To people that are out in it, how do you do it? A lot of smoke and mirrors. Okay? And that's one of the reasons that we're looking into like animatronics, because Disney, I'm convinced, is some type of cult. They're very strange about when somebody makes a mistake. One of their characters, they're very strange about how they treat each other. It's very weird things going on in that place. So again, I started that journey looking at this. Now, Margaret McDermott, the one who gifted the other statue, let's look and see when she passed away. Because And for some reason, there's no wiki page on her, though. There's all kinds. She's a socialite, though, for real. Or at least the proxy face of a socialite. Was a visionary patron of the arts, education, and healthcare. That's interesting. Healthcare. Why healthcare? When did she pass away? Do you have a wiki on her? Thank you. There it is. I want to see this bridge that she got credit for building, too. It's a suspension bridge. It replaced the blah, blah, blah interstate and part of the Trinity River Project and Horseshoe Project. Man, you got some really occultish names and stuff that they use as well. Why did she want to do it, though? Like, the whole point is why. Construction on the bridge began in 2012. Okay, and this isn't even a wiki page on her. They're doing nothing but... Oh, because it's called the Margaret McDermott Bridge. My bad. I wanted a wiki page on just her. Why is it saying... Okay, what did the other one say? That the person that the statue was... We're going to look up Sarah Horton Cockrell next because allegedly she met this founder, the one who went crazy and lives in an institution. And that's the question that he was asking. He's saying, if she went through all that, how did she get to keep her life? Why was she not institutionalized? Because now she knew the secret. That's what I'm getting of it so far. So Sarah Horton Cockrell. And we got to leave these other ones up so that we can compare notes for when these, because they all died. They died right before the statues came out. Oh, that's creepy. That's creepy. Because I was just talking about how some of the mannequins coming around now are looking like some of the missing 411s, and that's not me. I know I say that this person looks like that person, but usually I can prove it to you guys. But that's other people talking about the missing 411. Now they have mannequins coming out that are very realistic, and a couple of them look like missing people, well-known missing people, and that's why they recognized it. This chair is terrible. Okay, Sarah Horton Cockrell, the one who the picture is supposed to be, all we have are black and white images of her. Now, she was the founder, so obviously she's not on the same page as the other ones, but she allegedly met the founder, Alexander Cockrell, which is interesting because she lived to be 73 from January 13th, that's a weird day too, to April 26th. A Texan businesswoman who is known for her contributions to the economic and infrastructural development of the town of Dallas from 1858 to her death. So when did that asylum era start, when they started? Okay, so we'll just ask it. Did she meet the founder at age 33? And we'll know if that's just their insertion. Wait, what does that say? Did she go to jail? Go to jail, go to college. Okay. Meet founder of Dallas at 33. What were you doing when you were 33, Sarah? She met her husband, Alexander Cockrell, at a dance when she was 25. They married in 1847, and she played a significant role in the economic development of Dallas after Alexander's death in 1858. That isn't the name of the founder, though, is it? What was his name? Let's go back. Oh, heaven's sakes. How many of these do I need to have open? I'm still missing the first one. Okay, we're going to go back up. We're going to pull this out here because I want you guys to hear a little bit of this guy's story. He connects a few other dots. Oh, is it the X page? Don't give me the X page. And it doesn't exist. Is he totally gone? Wait, if that's another person that disappeared from these stories. Did he cancel his stuff too? There it is. Okay, that's weird because this guy actually, he writes for this central track for this publication. He's the first guy that I found talking about this. And he's the one that gets sent stuff by some mysterious person. He gets sent a package and a plaque, and they give him a fake award. Photo by John Bradley. What's his name? John Neely Bryan. Let's see if they have any connections. Why did he say that? It doesn't look like they have anything of them together. Sweethearts of the West, though. Who was that? All right, let's just look up John Neely Bryan. He is the founder. Let's see what he actually looks like. Are you serious? Okay, so now when I search John Neely Bryan, who is allegedly the founder. Okay, this is weird. So when I search the founder of Dallas, his wiki page comes up with that Pioneer. Remember I said they built a replica Pioneer cabin of his in Dallas, and that's near where this squid person was installed. So when I Google searched this guy, they brought up the picture of the squid, but not his actual picture. It's over to the side. That's weird. That's very strange. Okay, so he was a Presbyterian farmer, lawyer, tradesman in the U.S. and founder of the city of Dallas. Founder, remember, found. Very well could have existed prior to. Bryan was born to blah, 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 Fayetteville, Tennessee. There he attended Fayetteville Military Academy. After studying law, he left Tennessee and moved to Arkansas, where he was an Indian trader. That's the word they use, not me. According to some sources, he and a business partner laid out Van Buren, Arkansas. So he helped to found that as well. Bryan visited the Dallas area in 1839, and in 1841 he established a permanent settlement, which eventually became the burgeoning city of Dallas. He operated a ferry where Commerce Street crosses the Trinity River. Oh, wow. He married Margaret Beeman, daughter of who settled in Dallas from Bird's Fort. Couple had 5 children. Okay, what I'm trying to find now is if he actually disappeared later in his life, or if that's totally lore and made up by this artist. Served with the unit until he was discharged due to old age and poor health. He returned to Dallas in 1862. He became actively involved in community affairs. In 1863, Bryan was a trustee for the Dallas Male and Female Academy. I don't even want to know what that is. In 1866, during a Dallas flood, he was very prominent in aiding those affected. He chaired citizens' meeting that pushed the Houston and Texas Central Railway. So he was all about progress, for sure. Here we go. Okay. So he's really involved in the community, right? And now he's like greeting people at the railway because he got too old to be in the military. But now we have a change. By 1874, Wiki says, Bryan's mind was impaired. So is that part of the story true? Though it is not known precisely how. Quote, I am the son of John Neely Bryan, now before the court, end quote. Edward T. Bryan testifies, this is his son, on February 1st, 1877. And this is why, friends, I tell you it's a good thing not to have anything, because your children will just fight over it. They want your money. They want your house that you worked your whole life for, or the government wants it so that you can go into a nursing home and be taken care of, even though you worked your whole life and should have top-notch care. Somebody's always trying to take it from you. So his son, and that's why I take some of these cases with a grain of salt, because I saw this stuff happen in nursing homes. I saw this go down on an hourly, minutely basis with people, and I saw the worst, most grotesque side of people, and myself and others. Not there. Like, I was good at my job. I loved taking care of people. But I've made bad decisions like everybody else in my private life. So in 1877, I'm not sure how old he would have been. Poor health, old age. How old were you, Guy? Hold, please. When were you born? 1810. Yeah, he's getting to the end of his life. He is older here. So he's getting up there. But considering some of these people lived into their hundreds, he's not that old. So he says, his son testified on February 1st, 1877, my father is insane. So he was admitted to the Texas State Lunatic Asylum in February 1877 and died there on September 8th, 1877. So he didn't even he lasted like 6 months there. He is believed to be buried in an unmarked grave in the southeast, it's always the southeast quadrant of the Austin State Hospital Cemetery. Why would you do that? Wouldn't you want to recognize your father? Like, he had all these accomplishments that he is credited for, but you would let him just squalor away like that, and you wouldn't. Anyway, in 2006, Brian's descendants placed a headstone in the cemetery that reads PVT. Oh, that's great. 18, Texas CAV, CSA, December 1810 to September 8th, 1877, founder of Dallas, Texas. In 1954, the James Butler Bonham chapter of the Daughters of the Republic of Texas erected a white granite marker honoring the Dallas founder in Pioneer Cemetery. A large marker bearing the name Bryan and displaying 2 Citizen of the Republic of Texas, end quote, medallions honoring John Neely Bryan and his wife stands in the Riverside Cemetery at Wichita Falls, Texas. It overlooks the graves of Margaret Beeman Bryan and her son, John Neely. Oh my gosh. So can we find out more about why he was there? I wonder if we can pull up his admissions papers, because a lot of that stuff gets to be public record at a certain point because it's historical documentation and it's considered historically based. But if we could get that, okay. Austin State Hospital, formerly known until 1925 as the Texas State Lunatic Asylum. It's the oldest psychiatric facility in the state of Texas and the oldest continuously operating west of the Mississippi River. It's still open. Now it's called the Austin State Hospital. Wait, I was looking at something else in the Austin State Hospital came up because I was like, why did they treat this person like that? Interesting. It is operated by the Texas Health and Human Services Commission. Which, again, we're going to look at that too because the Disney stuff really brought that home for me about how different land. It's almost like we're not United States. Every state has its own separate system, sort of. And I knew that, right? But I mean, like, the way they handle laws and justice. It says the hospital offers psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults. I would like to know what they were up to there. Is that all they did there? At the beginning, patients began working on nearby farms. 1925. I want to know about your early days, guys. I want to know what the heck you did. All right, so now we're going to do a cross-reference search, and we're going to look for the founder of Dallas, this guy, and the institution. We're going to do a search with his name and just see what we find. Because again, we're on a hunt. All this information was laid at our fingertips for a reason. Okay, so John Neely Bryan and I want to see if there's any links that have more information about the reason given for his admission into this hospital. After a prominent career as a founder, postmarker, and trader, Bryan suffered from declining mental health. He died in 1877. His burial site has been unclear, with potential, though unclear, ties to the asylum cemetery grounds. Ugh. Now, this other person, let's go back to where we started. The mysterious squid statue was saying that... Hold on. The founder, Friedman is the founder of Central Track. And if he took down his Twitter... Alright, so we're going to change... And this is how the research with me goes. We're going to change tax real quick. And I want to look at a couple things. I want to look at why he was admitted, if it'll give me a reason. Texas State Historical Association. Do you think they'll tell us? By 1874, his mind was clearly impaired. Tell us why. Squatter. Why are they calling him a squatter? Ugh. This person's saying it was alcohol. He had a problem with alcohol. So they admitted him. Alright. Now we're not going to get into like the insane asylum trope and why people... Aren't you guys gonna, like, this is ridiculous. Wow, it's like, everyone associated to this that started writing about this. Here's the story behind Central Austin's mysterious cemetery. So now they're saying the cemetery itself is suspect. Bryan was admitted and died at the hospital, although suspect as whether or not... I want to know why these people have squid heads. Did they lock him up because, again, he knew that he just found the city, that they were founders and not creator makers of the cities? Like, what is going on? It's like they just, when they want you to, they just shuffle people away. Which, again, we know, but we want to know why. Occasionally, they permanently house the mentally ill. It swept across the country and promoted the idea of providing mental as well as physical health for the patient and curing what ails them. It was thought that patients, when exposed to beautiful surroundings, along with a limited amount of stress, might be able to shed their illness on a path to recovery. They never wanted to let those people out. Whatever happened, all of those places were old museums. There is no way... They weren't created with the intentionality that they were going to be asylums. That's not why they were made. They were something else before that. And whoever founded these places repurposed them. And everybody keeps mentioning him, but then when you try to look into their... Says John Neely Bryan apparently had a problem with alcohol along with an impaired mind, and his family had him committed to the state asylum in the late 1800s. He died there, although speculation exists as to whether or not John Neely Bryan's great-great-grandson, also named John Neely Bryan, had his relative's body exhumed and buried in downtown Dallas. There's a distinct grave marker. Oh, that is so bizarre. I'm telling you, I think that these people are proxies because the people who control our government, or whatever you want to call it, our system, they live very, very long lives. And they don't want us to know that for whatever reason. So they accumulate more information. When you don't know information like this is out there, and again, you're going to say, Jen, why do I care about a few art pieces that are installed in Texas? Because somebody went to a lot of trouble to take the time to create the pieces, and they are lifelike in size and whatnot. Somebody took the time to create these, not just create them, but write down these stories that they were commissioned by these people. Now, that's what we're going to look up next. Is that part of the lore correct? We found out that the plaque said that he was in an insane asylum, and he really was in an insane asylum. So we're going to look up this Margaret person again, Margaret McDermott, and see if she did commission that statue. Squid art piece. Ugh. So we're gonna see. I love lobster prints. That's a weird thing to bring up with her. And we've got these squid. I don't even want to talk about it. It's weird. Here she is in front of Shiva. She's pictured. Wow. I might use that as the thumbnail. So allegedly, the person who commissioned this statue. How tall is she? What if these people wanted to immortalize themselves? What if they're in the statues? The body of the female squid head looks very the same size as this woman, this McDermott. Now, it says that these are the people who commissioned them. So give me a second, because I want to go back to when this started. Is this him? Is this? Yeah, Pete Friedman from 2020. This is his publication, and he no longer has a Twitter. So what happened? Hold on, I'm looking at something. Hang on. How do we find out if they actually commissioned these pieces? Okay, so she definitely does art. Like, she deals with it for sure. Quite beautiful. The people would have said she was like a handsome woman. She was a trustee at the museum for 57 years. I just want to know if she commissioned these pieces for real. I think this person might have looked, though, to see. All right. So check this out. This is where it gets weird. Message redacted. What'd you say? Was it nasty? You don't have to be here if you don't want to be here. Okay. So I want you to hear this story. And this guy tells us, now again, since 2016, these statues, a lot of statues have been popping up all over the world, and not just squid head ones. Lots of them. All right. So I want to go back to, we found he was actually in an institution, so we know that to be true. I want to go back to the guy who commissioned the first one as well, because we didn't really look at him. Okay. So this is when he catches up. This says, 1,000,000 lifetimes ago and 12 months ago, I broke a story about a curious guerrilla art installation. They call it guerrilla because, like, guerrilla art warfare, like it was a surprise. It was unauthorized, okay? Suddenly appearing in downtown Dallas. The odd set of circumstances that followed then almost broke me. All this time later, I remain unsettled by the whole thing. Yeah, he has since deleted his Twitter. So he goes on to say, I was complicit in my undoing. I know you should have seen me on October 28th, 2019. I was in rare form. When did that guy die? Because I'm really not liking the fact that these people who allegedly commissioned these statues died immediately after. Was it somebody's signal saying, hey, we've gotten rid of these two? Like, what is being... Because none of this... And I know most people are going to say, what are you talking about? Again, somebody went to a lot of trouble to do this for a reason. Let's look at... I know it takes a minute. I apologize, but I thank you for your patience. All right. Where is the main guy? On the first one, the first squid. That's the one I want to see, is the first one. Now I can't find the man one. There it is. Show me. Oh, heaven's sakes. Oh my gosh, and there's a picture of him for some reason where he's wearing spectacles and one eye is covered with a darker lens than the other. Why? What era was that for him? Maybe something happened in the war. Okay. I can't remember that guy's name, and I can't find it on here. Somebody should have reminded me. I have too many tabs open. So this guy says that on October 28th, 2019, he was in rare form. I mean, of course I was. That morning, a loyal reader had passed along a story tip that ticked all my boxes. It was unique, mysterious, clever, tongue-in-cheek. So it says he was more than enough to comprise a good story. The story went like this. On his way to work one day, now we've read that part, John Bradley noticed something. His Twitter is gone, but so is Friedman's now. Friedman's Twitter looks like it's gone too. Maybe it's just something for me, or maybe that link was a dead link, but it went to X and it said, we cannot find what you're looking for. It said, at its base, the piece featured a plaque indicating that the sculpture was a representation of John Neely Bryan, the man credited with the city of Dallas's founding. The cryptic passage about Bryan that followed was extraordinary. Confined in his last days to an insane asylum in Austin, no one knows what final confusions the founding father of Dallas confronted before his death. That's such a weird sentence. It's almost like a coded sentence. I am back. Okay. Did the lines between selfhood and otherhood blur completely? Did flesh conflate with metal? Did the eternal with the temporal, the mammal with the cephalopod? Is the city he began a city in fact, or only in shared delusion? Beyond its own hypothetical claim that Bryan was a cephalopod, half man, half cephalopod, just as dubious was the plaque's claims that the piece, seemingly called Solomon, was a gift to the city from the late philanthropist Margaret McDermott, for whom one of Dallas's Santiago Calvarado designed bridges was named. It was all very wild. So this guy goes on to tell about how this made his whole life very strange. To no one's surprise, they leaned into the story. They were happy to play along. A few days later, when the statue was ushered away as quickly and as quietly as it had arrived, because the city deemed it a public safety hazard. I don't understand that, though. Like, why would it be a safety hazard? Weirdly, only one other outlet even bothered mentioning the saga at all in its regular coverage of the city, which was fine and good by our measure because we had ownership over the story, basically. There were even some angles we pursued that didn't pan out. Most of all, we wanted to find out who had been behind the prank. Now he's automatically calling it a prank. Following up on the Dallas Morning News report that the statue had been removed by and was in the possession of Dallas Office of Arts and Culture. We placed a call into the city office. Now this is where it gets weird because people get really weird about it. They called the city to see if anybody had called them to claim ownership. Now he's with the media, right? He has his own publication. He self-publishes. It's a successful publication. He's with the press, legitimately. So he's calling to ask a question about a local event. He wants to know if it was taken care of. The way they handle them is kind of weird. Apparently not. Officials at the OAC were so spooked by my question that I ended up patched through to a conference call featuring no less than 3 of the office's workers. They said no one had called other than me, and they wanted to know why I was so interested in knowing. This is what I'm talking about with the gaslighting. If they would have just said, nah, nobody's, you know how people are, nobody said nothing yet. If they would have just said that and hung up, fine, no problem. But because they acted suspect, it made this guy want to know more. You got to pay attention to human behavior. They said no one had called other than me, and they wanted to know why I was so interested. What else, they asked, did I know? So they think maybe he's the one that he did it. I promised them I knew nothing, that I was just charmed by the cheeky story. I'm not sure they bought it. Which is weird because, again, that's how Brits speak. And this is taking place in Dallas. And that's how Brits speak. And we also went over a few months back how I saw in a movie, I didn't know it was a real thing. London Bridge was once moved from London to, I think, Arizona or Texas, right down by this similar, down south, right? Like, are we just one landmass? Does any other landmass even exist? Do they just do that to separate us and divide us and make us feel some type of way? Like, I don't know what to think anymore. Because there's no why would you do that? What's the excuse? To move a bridge. The blocks of the bridge. Unless there's something attached to them. Like an element, some supernatural entity. And yeah, not everybody believes in that. But sometimes that's how that stuff works. Okay, so they thought maybe he did it, but he didn't do it. So I'm going to summarize some of this. It says, at some point over the course of all this reporting on statues, I received a phone call that didn't seem weird at the moment, but it did later. It wasn't much on the surface, a phone number with a local area code, simply called into our business phone to ask for the mailing address. So then he gets a package, right? Here's what it contained. A 10-inch ceramic humanoid statue, which is totally different. It's not a cephalopod. It's just some giant-headed thing. It looks like the moon almost. It looks like the man in the moon, but with a body. So he received that, carefully shaped hands and limbs, and metallic feet, which is interesting because that's biblical. That takes you to, you cannot blend the flesh and the, right? And it takes you to the different kingdoms, the kingdom of iron, the kingdom of copper, the kingdom of gold, the kingdom of silver. So this guy has silver feet. What else was in the package he received? Well, a plaque. It said, this is, you win the Solomon Award for journalistic exceptionalism, end quote. The inscription reads, quote, Dallas is only tangible so long as it is described that way. And again, the I is missing in described. And they're writing it exactly as it would, they're translating it exact, verbatim. So they're using I's in other words, but not in all the words. So it says, Dallas is only tangible so long as it is described that way. The illusion, our most worthy foe, resents your efforts against it. I, however, do not. End quote. So basically, this package that this journalist receives is thanking him for his efforts in revealing some type of hidden truth about Dallas. And they're saying that our enemy is the illusion itself. And that the illusion is only tangible when people perceive it that way. But if people perceive it, maybe not as a city, I don't know, maybe as something else, then they'll see what it really is. So they're basically thanking him for this. There were also 2 T.S. Eliot quotes included in the box, but it was crumpled up paper. The eyes are not here. There are no eyes here in this valley of dying stars. So that's one quote. And the other one from Edna St. Vincent Millay. And I saw from where I sat was there something, mountains, and a wood. And he doesn't, for some reason, you have to read it in the picture. He doesn't include, like, he doesn't, it's not typed out. He doesn't type it out. Okay, here's the T.S. Eliot quote. The eyes are not here. There are no eyes here in this valley of dying stars, in this hollow valley, this broken jaw of our lost kingdoms. Okay, so that's one of the poems or lines of the poem. And the other one, somebody went to a lot of trouble to do this. Oh, wow. All I could see from where I stood was 3 long mountains and a wood. By Edna St. Vincent Millay. I wonder where she lived. Because again, I've told you guys that the Bible was a map. And these people, they saw what was happening, right? Imagine that. Imagine you're seeing people being jailed just for telling the truth. Just for saying, that's not reality. That's not what happened. I was there. I saw it. And they start locking you up for telling the truth because they're rewriting a whole new history. So imagine you're seeing this, right? And you just want to do something to help, right? Like you just want to help the situation. You want to help humanity. When you want to help your friends and neighbors. But you're not going to be much help to them if you get put away too. So what do? You get the truth out in stories, in riddles, in code. And sometimes the code is the story, right? Does that make sense? So now she's telling us about a map. They're telling him this stuff because they're saying Dallas itself is an illusion. It's not what they're showing you. So to me, this is them saying, like, look at it from here, from this perspective. We'll read this whole poem because I'm very interested in. They might have only included a verse for him, but it was the first verse of the whole poem. So we'll read the whole thing. All I could see from where I stood was 3 long mountains and a wood. And we'll look and see if the author herself, the poet, if she says exactly where what area she was thinking of when she wrote this. So it says, I turned and looked another way and saw 3 islands in a bay. So with my eyes, I traced the line of the horizon, thin and fine, straight till I was come back to where I'd started from. And all I saw from where I stood was 3 long mountains and a wood. I turned and looked another way and saw 3 islands in a bay. Of their horizon thin and fine, straight around till I was come back to where I was from. So the next stanza goes, over these things I could not see. These were the things that bounded me. And I could touch them with my hand, almost, I thought, from where I stand. And all at once things seemed so small. My breath came short and scarce at all. But sure the sky is big, I said, miles and miles above my head. So here upon my back I'll lie, and look my fill into the sky. And so I looked, and after all, the sky was not so very tall. The sky, I said, must somewhere stop, and sure enough I see the top. The sky, I thought, is not so grand. Almost could touch it with my hand, and reached up my hand to try. I screamed to feel it touch the sky. I screamed, and lo, infinity came down and settled over me, forced back my scream into my chest. They're talking about the firmament right here. I'm sorry, my allergies are like really getting me. I screamed, and lo, infinity came down and settled over me, forced back my scream into my chest, bent back my arm upon my breast, and pressing of the undefined, the definition on my mind, held up before my eyes a glass through which my shrinking sight did pass until it seemed I must behold immensity made manifold. So they're talking about, this person is seeing all of time and all of the realm. . Wow, this is really long. I'm not going to read all of it. There's a reason for all this, though. I'll read it. I don't want to put you guys through it if you're not into poetry. Like the pity of God. There's a reason they connected all this stuff. Okay, I was thinking of something else too. Atlantis. Atlantis. Why is it always the I's and the L's that this person is omitting from things? All right, so let's go back. Oh, where is he? Where'd you go? He keeps disappearing. There he is. Okay, so that's what he received in the package. Now, basically, what he goes on to say here is that everybody starts acting really weird. He messaged a writer of the Dallas Morning News because he wrote a piece on it too, and he wanted to see if he had received any mysterious packages at his office. And he said he declined to comment either way if he had or did not, which was weird. He also called John Bradley the first man publicly noticed discovering the statue. But he said no, it was not him. And his Twitter was deleted. Now this is what's funny too. A funny thing happens when something so consumes your life as cephalopods had mine over the course of this journey. Maybe it's like when you buy a car and all of a sudden you start seeing other people driving your same car. But I became convinced that cephalopods were having a moment. Friends aware of my newfound obsession didn't help matters by making sure I was kept abreast of all recent cephalopod discoveries. But it's absolutely freaked me out that squids were such an integral part of the storyline on HBO's The Watchmen. Could all this really just be a coincidence? Now, he doubts that he'll ever find out because the person who started all this, John Bradley, after he had reached out to him the last time, he deleted his account. The Solomon artist in Dallas denies that it was him. I want to go back to the first one and I want to look at that guy's name again. Come on, let me see this picture. I might have to go back to my own video to see it. This is, again, when you try to look at certain things, they cover it up with ad after ad after ad, or they take it down, or they have links that are attached, and then those are gone. I just want to see how closely, there it is, T. Boone Pickens. How closely were they? When did he die? Does he actually look like his statue? Well, he wouldn't. It's supposed to be the other guy, but September 11th. So almost immediately after this, in October, the first statue was installed, and then she died. Oh, I don't want to leave that one. She died in 2018, I believe. And another thing about this is it also calls, on these plaques, instead of Dallas, it's called D''LLAS. There's no first A. I wonder if all the omitted letters spell Atlantis. There's something really weird going on with our whole everything. The map, what they tell us about the past, it's all really messed up. And most people don't even care. I'll be darned, we deserve to know the truth. I don't want to live a lie no more. I want to walk in truth. Okay, so we're going to look at... Now, hers is very pretty. Like, I know that sounds weird, but it is pretty. If I can pull hers up, if it'll let me. I want to know what happened to this guy. Pete Friedman. Where did you go? I don't want to resume browsing. I just want to know about him. When is the last time anyone saw a picture of him? Oh, geez. Maybe he made a different account. Huh. Interesting. All right, so we have cephalopod statues in Dallas that are attached to philanthropists, but also an artist who says that Dallas itself is a giant illusion, which again, Philip K. Dick, some of us, we've talked about how it really seems like people have got, and we're dealing with bad actors too, like they're not even good at keeping up the show anymore. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can find, did I not send? I'm going to do a quick search with you guys here because I want to see if I can find it. I'm going to do a search for occult statues. Life like humanoid. Since 2016. Now, I want to see if this search gives me the same as I did on my phone. All right, so check this out. And I just did this at random because, again, I'm seeing this all over. Since 2016, a trend in occult, uncanny, and hyper-realistic humanoid sculptures has emerged, blurring the lines between art, technology, and the grotesque. Key examples include Ivana. Okay, and she's got a lot of these ex-ante views, but it's just Ivana basics. Silicone wax figures. Goshka Makuga's 2016 Android. And AI-powered lifelike statues. These creations often evoke themes of death, otherworldly, or post-human existence. Now this one, I think, is the one I'm talking about. Ivana Basic, 2017, Serbia-born, New York-based artist creates uncanny lifelike sculptures from silicone, wax, and metal. These figures often appear as broken or suspended human forms, sometimes compared to insects or aliens, exploring themes of pain and death. Let's keep going, though, because I want to know specifically what else is new. Gosha Makuga, 2016, titled To the Son of Man Who Ate the Scroll. Huh. The guy who ate the scroll was Daniel. This 2016 artwork featured featured a lifelike android created by A-Lab in Japan. The android, wearing a PVC jacket, was designed to deliver monologues questioning the future of humanity. AI-powered living sculptures. The Hollow Sculpture by Turbulence Lab in Hamska. Okay, so now I'm just going to Google worldwide. Because I want you guys to see and hear. Worldwide occultic lifelike humanoid giant angelic statues. We'll throw angelic in there just to see. Based on recent reports, imagery, and cultural references, there's a growing fascination with the colossal lifelike statues that evoke themes of ancient, otherworldly, or occultic entities. Now, I already showed you guys probably about a year ago how Japan is like leading in animatronics and how they have real iron giants and how that could probably fool some people into thinking they're actual giants. But wait, there's more, because I actually believe some of those things do exist too. Again, we've got a lot going on. Now this one, why does that give me a different artist? Ancient Egyptian robotic statues. Reports and images have circulated regarding statues unearthed in Egypt with striking non-traditional features that some interpret as humanoid or extraterrestrial. These figures, discovered in buried chambers, feature intricate, almost mechanical armor or structural patterns, leading to speculation about advanced ancient technologies or lost gods. And again, we know this already. On this channel, there are certain givens. That's something we know already. But we'll keep going. The Fallen Angel statue was made in Madrid, 1878. It's located... Now, I watched a whole video on this one. And I gotta say, it's fascinating. It's laid out like you see the statues in Washington, D.C. It's in like the center of a square. Almost looks like a fountain. It might actually be a fountain. But where it's located in the center of the city has like all these occultic... important parallels and whatnot. Like, it's in a good space. Feng Shui, it's in a good space. But they do that when they create this stuff. It says, Andes Mountain humanoid statue. Recent viral reports. Okay. Humanoid-shaped statues discovered in the Andes Mountains, often discussed in the context of ancient hidden civilizations. I'm going to look that up. When I get done with this video, I'm going to do another search on Medusa. Because I heard something the other day. I heard if you run into a giant and you hold up a mirror in front of them, the giant will turn into stone. Now, in all the old stories, it's the head of Medusa, the snakes in her hair. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's true. But I also know that the best mirrors are the obsidian-backed mirrors. There's a reason they used to tell you, and this goes along with Slender Man and all this stuff, when you look into a mirrored surface and you're holding a camera and you're also taking a picture, there's something not good about that. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but there's a reason that they took everything from analog to digital and moved it from magnetic tape to like these digital zip files and stuff. There's a reason all that stuff was done, guys. And I know because I worked in cell phones when they got rid of CDMA, TDMA, but they kept it just for themselves and booted us onto the SIM system. Living statues are gargoyles. Medieval cathedrals in Europe feature grotesque gargoyles, sometimes profane or occultic. No, guys, I specifically asked. You already showed me some of them. All right, so let's do recent ones, shall we? Let's see if there's any recent worldwide occult, lifelike humanoid giant angelic statues that have just shown up from nowhere. Let's just take a look, shall we? I hate lies. I don't want to live a lie. I want to know the truth. Recent worldwide installations. Now, most people have seen the one in Jersey. It's like looking to New York and it's doing the cult thing there with the shh, and it's just a head. Ironically, it's the head of a female. Of course, it's always got to be demonizing the female. So that's one of them. Another one is a woman of color, urban style, and it's a bronze statue. And it's really big, but I don't know. I know it's in New York, but I don't know where in the city it's at. So now Google is telling us fallen angel sculptures. Several notable statues depicting Lucifer or fallen angels exist globally, such as the Fountain of the Fallen Angel in Madrid, Spain. That's the one I was just talking about, which is often associated with occult imagery. Similar smaller fallen angel sculptures are found in Turin, Italy, and Quito, Ecuador. The latter part of a work titled Brutal Power. Now, there's another one in Pisa, Italy called Angelo Caduto, created in 2012 by Igor Midraj. This is a massive bronze sculpture of a fallen angel on the Piazza of De Miracoli, characterized by a missing arm and broken wings. What have we talked about? Darn, that video I think is on the other channel, which means it's gone now. We did a whole research with me, and we had everybody in the chat when I actually had people who wanted to learn and learn together and talk about things and share ideas. It was awesome. We did this whole video, and we found out that there are certain cultures that believe that if you break off a certain part of an angel that represent, or a statue that represents somebody, that they can't go into the next life whole. Like they'll be missing that arm for, till it's restored. I don't know how true that is. And I also know why all the noses are missing, and it's not the reason everybody thinks. But I'm not giving up everything just yet, because it won't do anybody any good unless we get all this other stuff out of the way first. I'm trying to take you all in a slower wake-up methodology than how I woke up, because I was just like, boom, everything's a lie. Holy cow. So this one says, Ugu Ugu parades in Indonesia. Large, intricate papier-mâché statues representing demons, mythological beings, or negative spirits are created annually for the Balinese Hindu New Year. Why do you want evil spirits and negative spirits? Angel of the North and Gateshead in the UK, a contemporary massive steel sculpture by Anthony Gormley, completed in '98, which has become an iconic, albeit non-traditional, angel figure. I'm not sure what that one is, but again, we're just reading in this video. We will do a sit-down video. So again, you have to watch for that one because it's not going to be streamed this way. Other potential discoveries. Ancient-looking humanoid statues in the Andes Mountains. That's recent. How about this? You want to show me all of the... What is that one? I saw one somewhere in a picture. It's of an angel, like, falling. They're not quite on the ground yet. And it's being held up, obviously, by wires. But it is so realistic and almost kind of like it's coated in that sheer shellac stuff, too. It's got to be in Italy or somewhere that has a really, large museum. But that one... If there are any of these things that are like real beings, that one is one. Now, I'm going to do a search just for the heck of it before I end this video. It'll get you ready for what's coming. Now, again, I'm also not going to go down every hallway of every rabbit hole and all that. If you guys are interested in something, it's up to you to look at it again. I'm so glad our first channel... We started everybody looking at the maps and saying, wait a second, what's going on? There's nothing happening in the middle of the country. All the missing people are on the outer edges. Why is that, and what's going on in the middle of the country, or what's not going on? The butterfly effect is real, and I've seen so many things that we talk about here go on to other channels that it's encouraging. It's nice to see people actually waking up. So we're going to do Missing 411. Lifelike mannequins, and see if it's that person we just saw. Hello. Ecliptic stop sign. That's cool. There are results. Okay, so this is a... Friends noticed a mannequin looked identical to the missing person. Do I have a name for this guy? Wow, it really does look real, too. That is creepy. Like, for real. Missing model. When they touched it, they called 911. Quincy Williams and his friends walked into a fashion boutique in Demopolis, Alabama. They wandered to the back section, saw mannequins on display. One mannequin stopped Quincy cold. The face, the features, the crooked nose from a childhood accident. It looked exactly like his best friend, Jaden, who'd been missing for 6 months. He touched the mannequin's face. The texture was wrong, not plastic. Something else underneath. When they called the police, nobody believed them. Is there any comments here? Never meet a model agent alone. Yeah, no kidding. Probably took his organs as well. Wow, you should see these comment sections. Let's go to the newest and see. Was this actually found to be the case? Great. This is AI, it says. This is AI, though. How is it AI? This never happened. So there are some people that are saying this is legit and some saying it's not. The channel might be AI, but I'm pretty sure because there are too many videos like about this. Let's check again and see if we can find an actual link and not YouTube videos. That'd be nice. They're saying it's a trope. They're saying that it's not real. So why do they look like that? The mannequins at an observatory. This is Reddit. Oh. Okay, that's weird. Oh my. Wow, holy cow. It looks like flesh underneath. The mannequins at an observatory. An airbrush body paint artist, taxidermy enthusiast. House of Wax, 1953. Thanks for none of that 2000 remake. Classic here. Huh. I'm going to keep looking at this, but there's something very strange about this. And I didn't like the post. If you go back to my uploaded videos, I talk about how Elon has all these robots and that they have one that looks like Trump, and I think he's doing a lot of gaslighting. Trump isn't acting like Trump. If they get too much pushback, you notice they stop doing certain things if we push back hard enough. That's never happened. It's like we're dealing with children or people who are demonized. Because demonized people, they have to ask permission for everything. They cannot do anything without you allowing it. Even persecution. Even death. Like, if you and God aren't in alignment about it, it can't happen. But they want to build fear. They got to eat your fear. I don't want to know about it. I just want to know the truth. And I want to know that people aren't being harmed and hunted. Because it looks that way. If you step back and you look at everything that's going on, it legit looks like we are nothing but a farm here in America. People are cattle. Like, that's what it looks like. I'm not. But a lot of people don't know that they have free will. So they have pictures of some of these. And I have to say, again, as somebody who's worked with a lot of clay, and there's too many of these stories because they'll cover it up and they'll say, well, the artist of this one said it's an ex-girlfriend, or they like this one, and it's just weird. Okay, they're saying the Jaden Pierce one is a hoax. It should not be confused with real-life events or individuals with similar names. Huh. Why does it look so much like him then? I swear they're just like gaslighting people with some of this stuff. Very bizarre. Very bizarre. Okay, what we're going to do then is I'm going to do another video that is, not today, that is from the laptop. So again, it won't get the views or whatever, but I wanted to let people know who are actually here, where we're going to go through just pictures of giant statues that are all over the world. Angels, humanoids, but it's got to be some type of humanoid to qualify. And we're going to do that because some of us need to understand what's already out there so they can't fool us and say, well, this is new or that, we just did that, or so many people don't even understand, like they're even in the videos, they're scaring their children. What's that? What's in the sky? You look at China's light shows and they've been using drones for 10, 15, 20 years now, and we're still having firecracker accidents. They've got people fooled. They actually think war is the same here now, too. War is just drones and information, much like many of the people on YouTube are military, and they tell us that. But if you believe them, it's your fault. I'm going to run. I'm going to bounce. We're going to look at those images, we're going to get back to that story a little bit too. I'm going to look at some things on the side on my own, because again, this is about working our way towards resolution and finding out what the actual truth about our society is. And it should be real simple, right? It should be a simple question. But then you get into like things like compartmentalization and micromanaging. Sometimes people don't even mean to keep secrets. You're just so far away that you don't know that this person already invented the telephone. So you create one thinking you're the first. Do you see what I mean? We've got a lot of that going on now with people thinking some of these TikTok videos without context. Oh my God, that's aliens. Oh my God, that's this, that. Context is everything. Shorts are not always where it's at unless you take it with a grain of salt. All right, I'm going to bounce. Thank you so much for being here and listening to me blab. But again, I am trying to get the channel to have a basic audience again, just to see if anyone, is out there. And in the next couple of videos, we'll do the laptop so you guys I can do a screen share and you guys can look at some of this stuff with me and tell me what you think. Because again, there's a lot of high strangeness, hijinks out there. So be careful, be wise, and please, if you want to share anything, let me know in the community tab. Shoot me an email, and I will share it anonymously if you want. If you have any bits that go with the other bits that we look into. Have a blessed day, guys. And shoot up a prayer to the big guy for me if you would. I pray for you often. Have a blessed day.